In other news tonight, government is considering implementing a temporary rebate on import tariffs for chicken as South Africa is battling the worst outbreak of avian flu.
It's led to stock shortages in parts of the country. The Agriculture Department says millions of birds have been culled due to various outbreaks.
Trade and Industry Minister Ibrahim Patel has ordered a directive for consideration on fresh, chilled and frozen chicken as well as edible offal. The International Trade Administration Commission will also consider whether recently reinstated anti-dumping duties will be included in this rebate.
The ITAC investigating a rebate on import duties is being expedited. Interested parties have been given about 2 weeks until, I think, the 16th of October to submit comments to the Commission, where ITAC must consider whether this temporary rebate should only apply to ordinary custom duties or whether the recently reinstated anti-dumping duties should also be included. The imports are from Brazil, Denmark, Spain and Poland and Ireland. And they carry additional duties for the next 5 years. Now, there have been comments from several market commentators, specifically the CEO of the Association of Meat Importers, and they've welcomed this announcement. However, SAPA, which is the South African Poultry Association, is actually dismayed at the directive and the potential scrapping of import duties. They are of the view that the current situation actually doesn't justify a rebate, and that the potential shortage is actually no more than 30% if the culling is done, which hasn't completely happened yet. So that's where we are.
Our Fair Play founder, Francois Baird, joins us now for more on the story. Francois, good evening. Things are moving quite rapidly in the space, and I guess it's really all hands on deck to find the most appropriate solution for the moment. What do you make of the latest suggestions coming out of government?
Well, of all the plans the government could make, this is probably the worst one. If you really wanted to help consumers, you would scrap value-added tax on local chicken. Secondly, if you wanted to increase the volumes, you would agree a specific volume to be imported, and for those volumes only, to provide some form of a rebate, 30%, for instance, for the next 2 months or 3 months. Thirdly, local jobs should be protected, and for that purpose, the local chicken producers should be repaid for the cost of culling these chickens and restocking. You're looking at small farmers going out of business, jobs being lost on a large scale, and devastation in the industry that is the biggest in agriculture and provides South Africans with 66% of the meat that they consume. This is no small matter. In every other country in the world, there's a rebate paid to chicken producers who cull as a result of avian flu, and already there is no VAT on pilchards, which is not the chicken, the meat protein that people consume, but chicken is the meat protein of the masses. So really, to achieve any kind of relief, a simple, different plan is required.
So, Francois, I'm looking at the suggestions that you've brought forward, and I'm thinking about those that we've just spoken about in terms of government's own announcements. What do you think that some of those measures then are likely to do, including the issue of rebate, perhaps dropping some of the import tariffs around chicken coming into the country?
Well, for instance, look over the last year when the minister actually scrapped or withheld the anti-dumping duties. Everyone said that would help prices to go down. It did not happen. The retail price went up anyway. So this plan is not going to work. It's simply not going to help consumers. We believe it's very important to help, particularly the poor consumers in deep rural areas who buy locally. And they need to be supported by scrapping value-added tax on local chicken. And then the volumes must be addressed by agreement with the South African Poultry Association and the meat importers. This is something that's a national crisis. This is not something that should make importers even richer than they are already. They already have fat profits.
What are the biggest risks that you foresee if we take this route around imports? And I suppose without the restrictions that you've tabled here, I know that right now it's still out for public comment and people still have about 2 weeks to submit their feedback. But without these restrictions, especially when it comes to how much chicken to import and for how long, what is the greatest risk that you see as a result of that?
We don't have to guess what the risk is. We know what the risk is. The risk is the complete collapse of the local poultry producers and the wiping out of the industry, and then prices will skyrocket. This happened in Ghana. The import tariffs were scrapped. The chicken industry that used to produce 95% of Ghana's needs went down to 5%. And prices went up to the extent that chicken in Ghana became more expensive than steak in Durban in South Africa. And so there is no guessing that has to be done. It is simply a more sensible plan that is required.
Of course, much of this, whether coincidentally so, takes place on the eve of South Africa hosting the next AGOA meeting. And of course, chicken and dumping around chicken has been a big part of that particular agreement and conversation. How do you think that what we're facing now is going to play into that conversation?
Well, as you well know, in the AGOA agreement, South Africa is required to accept dumping to a certain amount by American poultry producers in South Africa. Therefore, we believe that what's going to happen is for the same reason that the Association of Meat Importers and Exporters are using this opportunity to try and increase their profits. The Americans would do the same, and they will use AGOA, most likely, to further increase their ability to dump in South Africa. We hope that the government would take into account that there are literally hundreds of thousands of jobs and livelihoods at stake in South Africa, and that they will keep one eye on the proper and correct thing to do for the people of South Africa and South African jobs, rather than to encourage American and Brazilian jobs and European jobs at the cost of South Africans.
Francois, when it comes to industry, there seems to be, I think, division in the individuals representing organizations like yourself that completely disagree with the proposals put on the table, and yet government says that it already has some support for these ideas. I suppose the question then is that how do we find the meeting ground? How do you think that these conversations should be happening over the next couple of weeks to ensure that there at least then is some kind of compromise which leads to a situation that will leave local farmers better off?
There already is a poultry master plan where the government is supposed to consult with everyone. And remember that the Association of Meat Importers and Exporters are signatories of the poultry master plan. The minister unilaterally decided last year to withhold the imposition of anti-dumping duties, and it did nothing that they promised it would do. In fact, on the contrary, prices kept going up because of inflation, and imports did not go up because the South African industry is competitive. So what has to happen is for the minister to honor his own plan, which is to bring everyone together and work out a solution. In fair play, we are not against imports. We believe they have a place. But imports by the rules. And we also don't believe the minister should act unilaterally. The minister has a duty of care to South African workers and to South African consumers and everyone in the industry, including the importers, to do what's right rather than to do a quick thing for a soundbite.
Francois, many South Africans, of course, are incredibly worried about what the next couple of months have in store, particularly when it comes to the availability of eggs and chicken and the associated cost. Your considered view, especially as somebody who has knowledge about the industry, what can we anticipate?
We believe that prices will keep going up, and we believe there will be a shortage. However, we think if the government gets everyone together and agree how the shortage could be filled in the short term until the culling has been finished and the replenishment of local stocks has happened, then there shouldn't be a problem. It's not a matter of, in a high-handed way, imposing a plan. It's a matter of sitting down with the people in the industry. And by the way, we don't have a stake in either the local production or the importers. What we believe is play by the rules and do what's right for South Africa.
Fair Play founder Francois Baird, thank you so much for your time.